welcome to the Intuitively Wild podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Levine. Living intuitively wild is about coming back home to ourselves. Here we talk about how to live connected to ourselves, others, and nature, and make a commitment to radical authenticity, vulnerability, and acceptance. On this podcast, we delve into a wide range of topics that span the human experience. We peel back the layers and talk about the things that are often not talked about. This is a space for us all to walk and wander this path of life together. Let's dig into our roots and go deep. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am really excited to be here with you today. I am really excited to come to you from my new home. This is my first solo episode recording in my new home in upstate New York. I have made the move from North Carolina and I'm starting to get fully settled in my new space here, and it's feeling really good. To be honest, it's feeling like a sigh of relief. It's feeling like a homecoming, and I'm feeling really grateful. And I'm going to go into some more of that in a bit because today we have a really special episode. I've been really looking forward to recording this episode because we are talking about the solstice. The summer solstice is next week on June 21st, Thursday. And it's also the midway point, kind of the year, the calendar year. And going forward, I'm planning. My manifesting generator can change her mind. But I'm planning on doing podcasts for each earth-based holiday. So that's the winter solstice, in bulk, which is the halfway point between winter solstice and spring equinox, which is the beginning of spring. And then we have the spring equinox, and then Beltane, which marks the start of summer and fertility. It's celebrated on May 1st. And then the summer solstice, and then Lammas, which is a harvest festival that takes place on August 2nd. The fall equinox, and Samhain, which is Halloween and literally means summer's end. And that's just a brief explanation. I'll go into the detail of each of those holidays as they come around, and we'll go into the depths and the layers. And my intention with these podcasts is to use them as points of reflection and intention setting and ritualism. So we will be discussing rituals that we are engaging in and giving suggestions and talking about what I'm doing and what's coming up in my life and how we're celebrating at Intuitively Wild. And there will be a lot more products and services and events around all of that coming out soon that will connect to the podcast. So lots to look forward to, lots of magic to come that I am so eager to manifest into reality. But for this podcast, we are going to stay focused on the summer solstice and what is happening in this present moment. So for a little overview of what we're going to get into, I'm going to reflect on the first half of the year. I'm going to go into some intentions going forward, specifically for the summer. And then we're going to talk about the summer solstice, what it means, what the energy is like in the world right now. And then we're going to go into a ritual. I'll talk about exactly the ritual I'll be doing and step-by-step guide for you to implement that into your own life as well in whatever way you feel called to. And then we are going to wrap up with new ways to bring ritual into your life. So let us get started. So like I said, I'm going to go into some reflections at first because the summer solstice marks a halfway point of the calendar year, pretty much, which is kind of wild that we're halfway through the year. It's been a very interesting year so far. And I really want to urge you to take the time to reflect on the first half of your year, whether this is a time that you get quiet and sit down with yourself and reflect with journaling or talking with someone, or just processing what's been happening, or think back as I'm talking, but just finding some space in your day to reflect on the first half of your year, because it's been quite a year. I've been doing a lot of reflecting, and the part I'll share here, which is really the crux of it all, is around this move, because it was around January when I started to get the intuitive knowing that I had to leave Asheville, I had to leave North Carolina, and that there was a transition that was going to happen. And I also was spending more and more time in New York. I was there for the holidays and extended my stay and had started going back and forth more. And it was starting to percolate, this idea that maybe I would move to New York. And then it was around March where I made the final decision, and April where I started moving in. And now it's June, and here I am in my new home in Rhinebeck. And on the summer solstice, I will be kind of using that moment, that exact halfway point of the year, as this initiation into this next chapter of my life, into the next phase of the year as well. And so it's interesting to look back on the first half of this year and how it's unfolded and kind of all led me here to this moment. And now the summer solstice, it's blossoming. It's kind of like the idea planted, the seeds were taking root, I was starting to water it, and now it is blossoming and coming into full form. And I'm really excited to see what that garden looks like in the second half of the year. So I'm wondering if there's anything that's been growing throughout the first half of your year that is now starting to come to fruition and is ready to unfold during the summer and the second half of the year. The summer solstice is really where we see things coming to fruition. The traditional reason for the summer solstice was a time to celebrate renewal and rebirth. It was the beginning of the new agricultural cycle. It symbolized the renewal of life and the start of a new phase of abundance and growth. And it's no coincidence that our phases of our lives correspond with the phases of the earth, with the seasons and the cycles and the rotation of the earth. We are so connected, and that's why I think it's so powerful to celebrate these earth-based holidays. So a little bit more about the summer solstice. The summer solstice is June 21st, and it occurs at the moment that the Earth's tilt toward the sun is at a maximum. So it's the longest day of the year, the brightest day of the year, a lot of energy and fire. And also the summer solstice occurs the day after Cancer season starts. So Cancer season begins on June 20th. And that energy, the mix of the solstice and Cancer season, it's asking us to take care of ourselves, to connect with those around us, and to be really compassionate and aligned with our intuition, and to be really aware of others' emotions and the emotion brewing within us. The solstice it's the time to honor the sacred magic of the sun, how it gives us life and energy and vitality. It's a time to celebrate renewal and rebirth. What in you is being renewed? What in you is being reborn and regenerated? What in you is feeling vital and alive? What are you excited about? What are you lit up about? What is shining in your life? What is shining within you? What is bringing that out in you? I think that focusing on those things is what summer is all about, what this season is all about. And it might not be as obvious or clear cut as the full renewal that I feel moving to New York, but there's something, I can promise you, there is something in your life that is being renewed and being reborn, and something that is being asked to be released, and something within you that wants to shine. Think of the lion stepping out into the sun and the light shining off his shiny mane. That's what I'm picturing. Like something in you wants to be seen. And that brings me to my intentions for the second half of the year, specifically summer, like I said, because I think it's hard to make general intentions for the whole 6 months left. I mean, I think that's why New Year's intentions can be challenging and why I pick one underlying foundational word for the year. But let's focus on intentions for the summer. These are mine, and I'd love for you to think about yours, whether they are the same as mine or something about mine inspire you, or you build off of them, or you can make something completely your own. Setting intentions for the summer allows us to focus our attention on where we want that light to shine, because basically our intentions are where our energy goes. Where energy goes, attention flows. So if we are putting our intentions and our energy and our attention towards a specific thing, that is what will grow in our lives. So my first intention is spontaneity. I want to do one thing a week that's out of my routine and feels important, empowering, or fun. And I want this to be an intuitive thing. I, as you all know, am someone who loves routine, and ritual is a huge part of my life. I think the difference between routine and ritual is distinct, and that's something I work with a lot of my clients, and I've talked about that on this podcast before. But for general knowledge, routine is more about structure and discipline and force and control and rigidity, while ritual is about intention and devotion and desire and magic. So when I want to bring more spontaneity into my routine, that helps me connect to devotion over discipline. It allows me to let go of the rigidity and control and to remind myself that it's not all so serious. Like I can have fun and I can be spontaneous, and it brings intuition back to my day-to-day life. So that's my first intention for the summer, is to do one thing every week that is intuitively spontaneous. I don't need to force it or plan it out. It doesn't need to be or look any certain way. It just needs to be something out of my routine that brings me back to the present moment and brings intention back into my day. Brings me out of autopilot mode. That is the goal. My second intention is about focus and devotion. Dedicating my time to what feels important to me, being intentional with where I spend my time, and continuing to ground myself. Summer can feel ungrounded and chaotic, and I want to lean into that fun summer playful energy, but continue to devote my energy and my focus to what is important to me. And this summer, that is about connection and impact. Those are kind of the two words I'm leaning into when it comes to this intention. I want to connect with my new community. I want to connect with everyone in the Intuitively Wild community. I want to connect with the nature here. I think a lot of this is about establishing myself in my new home, making it a new home, making my neighborhood mine, my local farmers market, just getting to know my land here. And also impact, like really devoting my time to my work and the impact I want to have on the world and being present with that. So I think that this is a really important one to check in with regularly within ourselves. What am I devoting myself to? What am I focused on? Where is my energy going? I mean, again, this comes back to intention. It all comes back to intention. But devotion. My focus is impact and connection. That is my second intention. My third intention is curiosity and flexibility. Staying curious to what is unfolding in my life right now. What is happening around me? What is happening inside of me? What is being asked from me? And by that, I mean, what is being asked from me in my life right now? How do I need to show up in my life right now to live the life I want to live and be the person I want to be? And what is the universe asking from me right now? These are really good words for the summer, curiosity and flexibility, because the summer, like I said before, can be a time of a lot of activities, and our schedules can be different or all over the place. We can be very busy. And so staying curious with what that brings up for us, what this summertime energy is bringing up for us, and being flexible with how we show up and always staying aligned with what is right for us. And curiosity allows us to see what is coming up for us. Those are my main 3 intentions for the summer, and I would love to know what yours are and if this sparked anything in you. And I want to speak on some of the energy of the summer that might also inspire your intentions or your focus, because the energy is crazy. And in human design, if you look at your chart, you have gates, and most people have at least one channel, unless you're a reflector. But your defined gates are the numbers in your chart that are colored in. And the channels in your chart that you have defined are the lines connecting one center to the next that you have colored in. And if the number and the lines are not colored in, that means that you have it undefined. It's not a present energy in your chart. However, as the moon moves through its cycle, it activates different gates and channels. So say you don't have gate 61 in your chart. When the moon moves through gate 61, you will feel that energy. So just like in astrology, we move through different astrological seasons and the planets are moving into different astrological signs. That is similar to how the moon is moving into different gates. And there's a lot of detail and nuance to this, but I'm hoping that this makes sense and can be helpful for you guys. And this is connected to astrology. Astrology is a part of what plays into these human design gates. But for the sake of this conversation, what I want to say is that the beginning of the summer, after the summer solstice, we have a lot going on in the root and head centers. And those 2 centers are our pressure centers. So we might be feeling, especially if you usually have those centers undefined, so that means that they are white and not colored in. This doesn't necessarily mean that you'll now have those defined, but it does mean that there's more activity going on in those areas for you, and you might feel extra pressure. So either extra pressure to take action or extra pressure to figure things out and gain clarity, and just that summer energy of doing that might feel more present for you. And that might feel challenging if you don't have those pressure centers normally in your chart. You might feel like you need to take action, but you don't know what you're taking action on, or you don't know how to do it. There might be some confusion or extra pent-up energy or frustration. So finding ways to move through that energy, and not just through movement, but through grounding and regulating your nervous system and bringing yourself back to a sense of calm. And as we finish out the month of June, we're also moving into a lot of solar plexus gates. And that is all about emotions. So you might feel more emotional, or you might be feeling different emotions than you're used to, or moving through your emotions in a different way. So just allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel. and do what you need to do. And the key to moving through all of this, because the energy is always changing. There's always a lot going on. And I want this to highlight that there's so much going on that we don't realize. Like the gates change all the time. So we're feeling different energy all the time. So if one day you're feeling really emotional or really overwhelmed and you don't know why, this might be part of the explanation. And it's not needing to know where it's coming from. The important thing is having the tools to ground yourself and figure out what it's trying to tell you. Is there something that you need to learn from it, or is there something that you need to do or move through, or is it just something that you're feeling and it's going to pass and there's nothing you need to do or fix or change? So I think my message here is to move into the summer having your tools ready, knowing what to turn to when you need to ground yourself, and building that ritual into your life. Again, coming back to the importance of our daily rituals and knowing the tools that work for us when we are feeling ungrounded, when we are feeling overwhelmed, when we are feeling anxious or pressured or confused. That's my message for right now. And if you want me to go more into these different gates and this energy and more specifics, I would absolutely love to. So just let me know about that. Moving on, we are going to go into my favorite part, which is the summer solstice ritual. And I'm going to take you step by step into the ritual I will be doing, including the steps, the journal prompts, the herbs, the yoga therapy tools, all the things. And I want to emphasize that this is just for inspiration. And you can use this exactly as I state it if you want to, or you can take one aspect of this, or you can do something completely different, nothing like this at all. I just hope that this inspires you in some way and reminds you to spend some time on the summer solstice creating a sacred ritual for yourself, whether it is just stepping outside and taking in the sun, or saying to the person next to you, happy summer solstice. Whatever this looks like for you, I think acknowledging and spending time intentionally on these holidays is magic and can create the most powerful ripples in our life for conscious growth and evolution. So let's get into the ritual. So the first thing I do before anything else is tap into the energy I want to magnetize and embody. The energy I want present during this ritual is the energy that I want present during the summer. So this is similar to setting an intention, but it's about setting the energetic intention, the energetic foundation, because often my intentions are revealed throughout the ritual, often after, but you want a steady, grounded energy right away. And if not the energy that you want throughout this season, say you're feeling really low, or you're having a hard time, or you just can't tap into that energy in this moment, that's totally fine. But just taking a moment to ground yourself and to set the energy, to be present in the moment of starting your ritual, to state to yourself, I am beginning a ritual. I'm kind of like an energetic bubble around yourself that will be your container for the ritual you are embarking on. And then you set up your space, and the energy will build and become more solidified while you're setting up your space. But I think taking that one moment to pause and tap into it before you begin setting up your space helps you invoke that energy into the whole environment and your whole ritual and your altar as well. Because once you ground into the energy, you can know how you want to curate your environment. The music, the vibe, the smell, the aesthetic, the theme, the overall energy of the ritual can come from that initial grounding and that initial establishment and intention. And that will build as you start curating and setting up your space, because you might feel into one energy and start creating your altar and your space around that energy, and then decide it doesn't feel quite right and shift it. And that's okay too. It all builds onto each other, because also setting up the ritual is part of the ritual, because it's part of being present. It's part of being intentional. Sometimes setting up my ritual is my whole ritual. Like, I'll light my candles, I'll put my meditation cushion out, I'll put my crystals out, and that's my ritual. Like, that is my devotion to myself that day. So setting up your space is just as important. It is part of the ritual. So setting up your space, there's this word altar that I like to use, but you don't have to use it. It could just be the environment. It could just be your desk. You don't have to use the word altar. I think that it's a really powerful word because it evokes that sense of intention and sacredness. It, kind of hints at something special. You can be going about your day and see an altar that you set up, and it brings you right back to yourself. It reminds you of what rituals you perform with that altar and the energy and intentions that you put into that altar. So that's why I like the word altar. But again, feel free to use whatever word works for you. So your altar, it can also be whatever you want it to be. I have a really beautiful wooden altar that I bought a couple years ago. I've traveled with it. I really love it. And it's really special to me, but your altar could be a desk. It could be one corner of your room. It could be anywhere and anything. But here is how I like to set my altar. I want something of each element. So I have my candle for fire. I have my incense for air. I have my crystals and flowers for earth. And I have my tea for water. And that is the foundational level of my altar. Next, I will make my tea. And of course, sometimes I will make this before I set up my altar, while I'm setting up my altar. As you can see, these steps are fluid, and you're meant to use your intuition to see how it flows and feels right for you from moment to moment, from ritual to ritual. And this summer solstice, the tea I will be making is mugwort, chamomile, and St. John's wort. These are the perfect herbs to work with for the summer solstice. Mugwort has long been associated with the summer solstice, and one reason people believe this is because it helps you tap into your dreams, both your waking dreams, what you desire, and also your sleeping dreams. It really helps you tune into your intuition. This herb helps connect you to the deep wisdom that you have inside of you. It balances you, it promotes internal balance, emotional balance, and energetic balance, and it promotes steady energy and calms your nerves. When you're working with mugwort, you can ask it to reveal to you what your dreams are. So if you're seeking clarity, this can be helpful for that as well. And then chamomile, this is known as the herb of the sun. It promotes a mindset of wonder and awe and joy. It brings out the light within you and helps you see the light and the positive all around you, which is, perfect for the summer solstice and summer in general. It's also soothing and helps you stay calm and present and grounded and quiet those racing thoughts. It balances out that fire energy and the pressure we might be feeling from those pressure gates being activated. And then St. John's wort, I talk about this one all the time. It's one of the number one allies when working with mental health. It regulates your nervous system. It allows you to hear and trust your intuition. It boosts your confidence. It uplifts your spirit. It will help you ground and combat anxiety and any stress that this time can bring. And it's also another herb associated with the sun. There's an ancient Greek belief that the St. John's wort plant pulls in and stores the sun's vitality. So, that pretty much sums it up. And I also love these because they go really well together in a tea or a tincture, and they are all easily available. I promise if you look online for any of these herbs, you can find reputable sources that can deliver them right to you. And there might be even some dried herbs that are in some of your local stores. And if you want me to make you your own herbal tea for the summer solstice or the summer in general, I would be honored. And more on that coming soon. But that's my suggestion for a tea and for herbs to work with all summer long. And you can also find these not only in teas and tinctures, but in an oil as well, infused in oil. So if you want to find like a mugwort oil to moisturize your skin over the summer, that can be a really beautiful way to work with these plants as well. Okay. Next steps. While I take the first few sips of my tea, I ground. And for the summer solstice, especially, I do this ritual outside. I try to do as many rituals as I possibly can outside, especially when it comes to specifically celebrating these earth-based holidays. And I think the summer is an easy one to do outside because ideally it is sunny and warm and beautiful out. But I take my tea outside, take my altar. I've set my altar up outside. And while I'm drinking, I really ground into presence and awareness. And I kind of ask the universe and my heart to show me what I need to know from this ritual. I say, reveal to me what I need to know. It can be as simple as that. And then you can choose the order of the next steps. I go into some journal and yoga therapy practices. And sometimes I want to journal right away. I have things on my mind or just feeling that pull. And sometimes I want to move into the yoga practices right away. And it doesn't matter. Both work perfectly. Right now, we'll start with the yoga therapy practices. And there are so many tools within yoga therapy and yoga to use and work with. Find what works for you. I'm going to go quickly into the 3 foundational practices that I tend to always work with in my rituals. And the first is grounding. So we've kind of touched on it already, but this is your time to ground and connect with nature. So go outside, put your bare feet on the earth, put your face towards the sun, close your eyes, and notice what is around you. For this practice, really notice every aspect of nature you are interacting with right now. What you feel on your skin, what you hear, what you smell. And then focus on the sun, focus on the warmth of the sun, and focus on your heart center. And feel as if your heart has a door that is opening up and letting the light and the warmth and the vitality and energy of the sun just seep right into your heart. As if it's pouring into you and charging your battery and lighting you up from the inside out. And then express your gratitude. Open your eyes and find something from outside to add to your altar. So that can be a flower or a rock or anything that catches your eye wherever you are. Ideally, it's something in your environment that you are going to be interacting with every day. The next tool is breathwork. So for this practice, I like to stand rooted to the earth, my bare feet on the ground, and I tend to go right into this after my grounding practice. And you want to inhale for a count of 2 as you raise your arms overhead, hold for a count of 2, and then exhale for a count of 4 as you bring your hands back down to your side. Now, the actual length of your breath does not matter. You can do a count of 3 and then exhaling for a count of 6. But the goal is to have your exhales twice as long as your inhales, or at least longer than your inhales. Because when we elongate our exhales, it regulates our nervous system. You can repeat this for as long as you want. I would say at least 3 times. But just let it flow and see what feels good for you. And then after you've done that, find a place where you can be still. This is when you move into the meditation. And my goal with this meditation is simple silence and stillness. There are no real rules or structure that I'm going to give you for this meditation. You can find a guided meditation if you'd like, but I highly urge you to just sit with yourself for at least 3 minutes. You can watch your breath, you can repeat a mantra, you can let your thoughts run wild and be annoyed the whole time. It doesn't matter. Just practice simply being and notice what comes up. And once you have done that for at least 3 minutes, we can move into the journaling. And I think that this is a good opportunity to do the journaling after your meditation, because I'm not giving you any structure around the meditation. Having the journaling to do afterwards can be a good place to put out all that came up for you. And at the same time, doing the journaling before can let you get out what's on your mind beforehand so that you are ready and able to sit in that silence and stillness. So again, find what works for you and you can play around with it. But here are the journal prompts for this summer solstice practice. So the first one is, what seeds have I been watering that are ready to take bloom now? What in my life needs my devotion and attention? What in my life does not need my focus anymore? And the second batch of questions, how am I feeling? How vital and alive and nourished and grounded am I feeling? What in my life is bringing me this vibrancy? What in my life is depleting me? Number 3, if there was one thing I could make happen this summer, what would it be? What can I do to lean into and prioritize that in my life? Whether it's an action, a mindset shift, how can I find a way to do something small in that direction every day? And number 4, what is my intention for this summer season? A word or phrase or set of intentions that I can come back to and lean on and use as a guide. So those are the journal prompts. And all of this will be posted on the blog. Yes, I'm bringing the blog back. So the summary of this ritual with the steps and these specific journal prompts will be posted on the blog. I will link that in the newsletter. I will link that in the show notes, so they will be easily accessible to you. And then once you've finished your journaling, this is coming to the end of our ritual. So you want to express your gratitude to the sun, the earth, to yourself for showing up, and express a promise to yourself that you will act in alignment with what this ritual revealed to you. Whether that is an intention or an action or something that you've realized, just making that promise to yourself. And then to symbolize the end of this ritual, I like to blow out my candles, bow my head, and say, this ritual is now complete. And when you are done, you want to take your altar or a piece from your altar, whether that is the object you picked up from outside or the pages where you journaled or the crystal that you held while you were meditating, something from this ritual. Ideally your whole altar, but it really doesn't matter. You want to place that somewhere where you can look at it regularly. That will bring you back to the energy you created through this ritual and the intention that you set to remind you to come back to this energy, and so that you can lean on this and have it support you throughout the summer season. And again, this ritual can be as intricate or simple as you like, as long or as short. You can pick and choose what you do and add and subtract intuitively. Make it your own. You can't do it wrong. And you can also engage in the more traditional ritual of the summer solstice, which is lighting and jumping over bonfires. They used to do this on Midsummer's Eve, and this dates to pre-Christian pagan customs. It was thought to keep demons away and bring good luck. Basically, just bringing fire into your ritual as much as you can will honor this time. And this is also a really wonderful time to do ritual in community. Summer solstice is a very community connection oriented time, and stay tuned for more of this from Intuitively Wild. But in the meantime, if you are feeling inspired by this ritual and want to know more about ritualizing intentional living, my new product, Ritualism, is about to come out. This is your personalized manual for intentional living based on your human design. It provides you with the support to gain understanding on who you are and how to best support yourself. Because life is really ungrounding, and this time right now, we're in a season of change and transformation, and we have to have the tools that will help us. We have to have the ability to let ourselves take our time and see what wants to be revealed, and not numb or disconnect or fight against what is coming up for us. I think a lot of us are experiencing nervous system dysregulation, whether this is freezing and overwhelm or fight and flight. Having the tools to pause and process and integrate and move when ready, and then to take grounded and aligned action versus freezing and being overwhelmed or forcing and getting really rigid and having chaotic action. The difference between reacting versus responding, and knowing the response that is aligned for us and needed from us right now. And not holding ourselves back, and knowing what's getting in the way and why we might be holding ourselves back. Ritualism, this guide, provides you with all the tools to do all of that for yourself. It shows you your way to creating an intentional life for yourself. All the tools, all the knowledge, all the wisdom that I have learned throughout my journey, it is put into this guide in a really practical, actionable, simple, accessible way for you to make your own. It is the foundational tool to living intuitively wild. And I'm really excited to share it with you. To be honest, when I'm recording this, Wednesday, the 5th of June, I don't yet know if it's going to come out next week or the week after. It's either going to come out the 13th or on the solstice. Either way, perfect day. And you will know. So I can't wait to share it with you. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode. I had so much fun recording this one. I think honestly, this is my favorite solo I have recorded to date, and I'm really looking forward to many, many more like this. I'd love to hear what this brought up for you, how you felt, what you liked about this, what you are interested in learning more about. And I just wish you all the most magical summer solstice blessings. May this summer be one of pure joy. And I cannot express my gratitude more for all of you being here. Okay, I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Intuitively Wild, the podcast. I hope it helped deepen your connection to yourself, sparked some insights, and inspired you to live intuitively wild. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with others and leave a rating and review. And please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. I will see you next time for more magic.